Talking about fishing different kinds of grass, that's pretty simple. I'll talk about that more throughout the seminar here, but you know, I'm gonna put hydrilla, milfoil, coontail, eelgrass, and every other kind of submerged deep stringy grass that I don't know what it is. You got star grass, all kinds of stuff. Um, that kind of goes in one category. And then, like I said, and we're really not talking about that, you have, you know, your reeds, your cattails, and then your lily pads. Man, that's kind of your three different types of vegetation. I'm not saying there's not more out there. There are for sure, but that, like, especially my region, what I fish, it's usually, you know, pads or reeds or some kind of submerged eelgrass, hydrilla, milfoil. How to attack those grass beds, you know, I'm going to kind of mix all this in together. Starting, we're going to do seasonal with different lakes, you know, stuff that I've done in the past growing up and stuff that I fish on the Elite series throughout the year. You know, we usually start in the south, early pre-spawn, and we usually end up north, you know, post-spawn, late summer, going into fall. And then I fun fish a lot in Texas in the fall, obviously. And I've won tournaments in the grass in the fall on Lake Chickamauga on the Elites, and, you know, all over the state of Texas throughout the year. So I'm going to kind of expand on how to attack the grass, what I'm looking for, how different lakes set up with grass, and the strategies I catch them, whether it's, you know, a rod, bait, how the grass sets up, weather, current, all of that throughout this whole thing. So we're going to start in East Texas. We're going to start at Lake Sam Rayburn, Toledo Bend, Lake Fork. I'm putting them all together. This is for pre-spawn. So Rayburn is what I'm going to relate to more than anything because it's the most famous. Bass has been there a bunch. It's huge pre-spawn. It has a huge history for pre-spawn, hydrilla, largemouth fishing. And when you think of Rayburn in the pre-spawn, whether it's December, January, February, into March, anytime in that frame, you think Rayburn red, you think hydrilla, and you think drains. You know, that's the biggest thing where we're at. When I say a drain, you know, what's a drain? That can be anything from an actual creek channel to just a depression in the hydrilla on a flat, depression in the hydrilla off of a point, depression in hydrilla off of a pocket, the middle of a pocket. Any of those are drains. Some are really defined. Some of them are just where the grass isn't growing as tall as the other ones. Sometimes it's where that grass is healthier, like I talked about, looking at that clean, crisp green grass. It'll grow better. It'll grow taller. It'll make walls better. But that's what we're looking for. When I go down to Rayburn or Toledo, anything like that, I'm looking for drains with the crispest, cleanest green hydrilla I can find. No matter where you're at on the lake. You could be all the way up in the deer stand in the very, very back in the very last drain in there catching an hydrilla, or you could be out on the main lake in the mouth of Caney, on Rayburn, the mouth of Five Fingers, Howsen Bay, any of those lakes or any of those pockets like that that have main lake grass, you know, that's actually where you're going to catch the biggest fish usually. Any of those depressions in the grass, that's a drain. That's what we're going to start on. We're going to concentrate on that and move our way back throughout the pre-spawn towards the back. You know, some of those fish will spawn on the main lake like that, but they'll house out there. They'll house out there all winter long. You know, it can be some of the best fishing days in the grass on Rayburn I've ever had have been in January, December, the nastiest, rainiest, coldest, snowing days you could think of where you wouldn't think of going to fishing grass. I'm talking about in 2 to 4 foot of water, burning red rattle traps in the grass on Rayburn and Toledo. They love to house themselves in there. Those grass beds full up with crawfish and brim big time in the wintertime. When you get those good, bright, sunny days late in the day, that's when those gizzard shad and threadfin will go in there and eat in the grass as well. So that pre-spawn bite at Rayburn, I'm going to kind of elaborate on it more than any of them just because that's where I'm from. It's what I'm good at. How to approach those drains. You know, I usually like to start out on the very tips of that grass. You know, in our area, that can be like 12 to 15 foot. You're going to have shell right in front of that grass. And it's not straight grass fishing, but hey, they're there because of the grass. That's why they're there. So I like to look on the very mouths of those drains first with the hydrilla in them. And I'll take, you know, whatever it is, a C15 from 6 cents, C25, 300 DD, 400 DD, 500 DD, depending on the depth. I like to look I'll side scan, I'll take my hummingbird apexes, side scan the mouths of those drains and find the hardest spots. Might be on a point of a drain of grass, might be right in the middle of it. You never know. Sometimes you'll see the fish, sometimes you'll see the shell. So I'll start on that outside edge, especially in early pre-spawn, December and January. I'm gonna graph the mouths of those drains. Sometimes you can't see them, like I said, especially at Rayburn. And you just have to crank them. I'll crank the edges of that outside grass. There's usually a hard spot that they're sitting on. You know, my favorite is a 300 DD from 6 cents. You know, your shad pattern, chartreuse blue, anything like that. And I'm throwing it on a Halo HFX 7.6 medium heavy cranking rod, Sunline Sniper FC, anywhere from 12 to 20 pound test, depending on, you know, how deep that shell is, you know, how thick the timber is. And I'm gonna comb the mouths of those drains. Those pre-spawn bass that aren't living in the grass, like year round, they'll come from 50, 60, 80, 100 feet behind you, and they'll float in there and they'll just set up on those outside shell beds on that grass edge.